The sight and sound of strikes on another sovereign state. Israel's calling card delivered by jets, targeting Hamas's negotiating team in Qatar.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Hamas say all their senior leadership survived, but in trying to assassinate the team responsible for agreeing any peace deal, it seems Israel sees only a military solution in Gaza, not a negotiated one. The target of the attacks, amongst others, Khalil, the leader of the Hamas delegation in Doha.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. These are the same terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th.
That Israel has carried out an attack on this scale on the territory of a Western ally has been condemned as a violation of international law by the Qataris, Gulf states, regional and European allies, as well as the United Kingdom and United Nations. The Qatari Prime Minister tonight accused Israel of state terrorism and said that he reserved the right to respond to the attack. It's all rather awkward for President Trump, who just months ago visited Doha, accepting a free plane from the royal family. What's not clear is how much notice the Americans were given of the attack.
President Trump immediately directed Special Envoy Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack.
2 days ago, President Trump demanded a peace deal. I've warned Hamas about the consequences of not accepting, he said. This is my last warning. There will not be another. Those words ring true now. Israel's strikes on Qatar are an expansion of the conflict in the region that has raged since Hamas's attack on October the 7th. However, today's targeting of the Hamas leadership in Doha is the first to be carried out on the territory of such a close ally of America and the West. After October the 7th, the first assassination of a Hamas leader was Salah Aruri, a senior military commander, in January 2024. He was killed in Beirut. Then, in July, Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas's political leader, was assassinated on a visit to Tehran. 2 months later, after other assassinations, Israel killed Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, along with many of the group's other leaders. In August this year, after multiple strikes on Houthi positions in Yemen, the group's prime minister and other officials were killed in a strike. Whoever lived or died in Doha, today's attack will lead to further deaths in Gaza, where it seems Israel is now openly committed to a military solution rather than any negotiated peace. Emma Murphy, News at 10.
Well, in Israel itself, the airstrike in Doha has left families of the hostages distraught. One mother said Benjamin Netanyahu had effectively ended her son's life, but many other Israelis see it very differently.
In Jerusalem, they chose the Museum of Tolerance to protest against a government that's once again chosen destruction over dialogue. Supporters of Israel's hostages gathering within hours of the Doha strike to chant the name of every one of them. Matan Zangauka, a young soldier abducted on October the 7th, is among the 20 still believed to be alive in Gaza. His mother, Einav, accusing the Prime Minister of putting him in more danger than ever. I'm shaking with fear, she says. It could be that at this very moment, Benjamin Netanyahu basically assassinated my Matan, sealed his fate. It's a strike the Israeli government tonight revealed it had begun planning for immediately after the attack on this bus stop yesterday by Hamas gunmen that killed 6 Israelis. Benjamin Netanyahu saying that murderous action and others like it made this strike completely justifiable. Eli Asaf, a student who often catches the same bus that was attacked, agrees.
To get rid of, let's say, the head of Hamas, because their plan is to annihilate Israel.
But it is a sovereign country.
It is a sovereign country that gives shelter to the people that are responsible for these horrific attacks on Israel.
But throughout the day, Israel has been retaliating closer to home too. The two gunmen may be dead, but the army's still encircled their villages to search homes and make arrests, effectively shutting down a section of the occupied West Bank. In a tunnel under a wall that separates it from Israel, we found working parents who've been queuing for 28 hours to get back to their homes. Like teacher Khalil, who told us this kind of collective punishment now feels routine.
The worst thing are already happening. They are confiscating, they are taking over the land. Settlers are everywhere, doing whatever they want. Nobody asks them. So what can we worse than this?
Well, next door in Gaza, where they are desperately fleeing Israel's bombs. And as the ceasefire talks were shattered, it felt in so many ways like there was nowhere left to go.
And Rachel joins us from Jerusalem now. Emma is here with me in the studio, as you can see, and Dan is in Washington. Rachel, maybe let's come to you first. How do you think, in the end, they will be weighing up this strike in Israel tonight?
Well, make no mistake, it was a pretty big gamble. And of course, there has already been a massive diplomatic fallout across the region. Benjamin Netanyahu, in his televised address, talked about it being a surgical strike. But unlike those other ones that you heard Emma mentioning, it doesn't seem to have been so. We've heard from Hamas that while a handful of their members in Doha were killed, the leadership there remains, they say, alive. And whilst that may be embarrassing for Israel, what makes it even worse, I think, is the pain that inflicts and increases for the families of the hostages. We're expecting protests from them in Tel Aviv tomorrow, but they will be asking, what was this for? Because over the past weekend, they had real hope that there were signs that there were promise in the ceasefire talks, that things were going in the right direction. And now, tonight, 2 years on, whilst we understand that the Hamas leaders in Doha have survived, the survival of their loved ones seems more in peril than ever.
OK, Rachel, thank you very much indeed. Dan, I mean, we've read Trump's post tonight on Truth Social in which he seemed a bit irritated with Israel. He's effectively caught between two allies. What do you think he's really thinking tonight?
Well, I think his irritation was pretty clear, Tom, from not only what Caroline Levitt said this afternoon in the press briefing. She read out a bit of his statement, but also in terms of the sort of timing. I mean, there is reporting now coming out this afternoon, despite Caroline Levitt trying to sort of swerve the question of how the US military found out about this attack. She says the US military informed the White House and then they told the Qataris. There is reporting this afternoon here in Washington suggesting that the US military only found out when they spotted those jets flying east, suggesting perhaps that the Israelis didn't give any warning at all. I mean, President Trump's statement gives a sense of his irritation. He says this was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. He says unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and a close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely, taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. And he goes on to say, I view Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the US and feel very badly about the location of the attack. So clearly this is, potentially damaging to his relationship with Netanyahu, although there's no sense of anything changing in terms of America's staunch support for Israel. But this is damaging also for the kind of American security guarantee for countries like Qatar. Qatar, a country that he visited in May, that offered to replace Air Force One with a brand new jet. There's huge US military presence there, and it sits under this kind of US security umbrella, if you like, and the idea that Israel can kind of act with with impunity, really, and striking in the heart of Doha at targets it sees fit to do so, is damaging to that status, whether or not Donald Trump was told in advance. But also, it begs the question, where on earth do the talks go from here? I mean, is there going to be any sense of Hamas wanting to engage in any kind of talks if they think potentially they're going to be assassinated when they turn up?
OK, Dan, thank you very much indeed. Emma, I mean, I suppose the truth is the Israelis, given everything Dan's just said there, the Israelis might think that's worth it if they'd killed the Hamas leadership. Doesn't look like they might. I mean, too early to say perhaps, but it doesn't look like they might have done. But how do you assess the war that you've covered for so long tonight after this?
Well, I think tonight there is far less chance of a negotiated peace settlement than there was this time last night. And this time last night it wasn't particularly likely, although I have to say over the past few days the mood music and the conversations that I've been hearing was that there was greater hope for a chance of some kind of diplomatic breakthrough at this point than there had been at any point recently in the past. And tonight it's quite clear that that sort of diplomacy is certainly dead for now, even if the negotiators are not. I think in terms of what this means for Gaza, it is incredibly grim. I think the actions are very clear from Israel that they are not seeking a negotiated settlement. They want to finish this militarily. And in reality, we shouldn't be surprised. This is something that Hamas have been warned about over many years now. After October the 7th, Prime Minister Netanyahu said that he would go after the Hamas leadership wherever they were. And this is another example of it. And I think also tonight we need to think about where this leaves the region, because as we've discussed, Qatar is a very, very significant ally of the West and of the United States. A senior Israeli politician today said that this was a message to the whole of the Middle East. Now, the message that will be taken from many of those countries is that actually, if Qatar can be hit by Israel and America has no hold on them, any country can. In terms of Israel, I would say that tonight that they're not too worried about the American censure. They're probably more fed up that those leaders are still alive and they actually didn't succeed on this occasion.